Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text WES 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I am your host, Wes Tankersley. Hey, before we get started here, I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple things. If you are watching this live right now, can you please hit that watch party button? Let's help spread the word about Shaping Success. Let's help someone get motivated by this show. Also, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a little giveaway we're about to do. I'm about to hit 1,000 downloads on my podcast. So if you're listening on my podcast too, we're going to do a little IG giveaway. Me and one of my buddies who has a brand called the Warriors Collection. I'm going to post this in the on my IG. We're going to be giving away a hat like I'm wearing here. This is my logo. If you haven't noticed that, it's a funny thing. You'll have to DM me and ask me about what it is. And then we're going to be giving away one of his shirts. So anyway, that's kind of the things that we're getting ready to do here. Let's get started with the show. This is episode 25 with Dr. Melissa MacDonald. I call her Dr. Mac, and that's how a lot of people know her. She is a sports chiropractor out of Edina, Minnesota. I met her in a podcasters group on Instagram that we are in together, and I loved her show. She also has a podcast, and she is a sports chiropractor, if I haven't said that yet before. Dr. Mac, welcome to the show.
Hello, Wes. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting to get to this podcasters group that we've been part of, and I'm just going to say it, Podcasters United. We have this group that has been put together by a great group of people. We're a couple of the moderators. I guess I have that title, but really the moderator I feel like is you. You do all the work, so. But well, you do a lot of the work. We have a couple of people who are on there that really do a lot of work and have put this thing together, and it's really exciting, the growth of it. But I'm glad to have you on the show because I think that when I listened to your first episode, it was really exciting to hear some of the things that you're doing. And I think it fits right into the platform that I have and the people that I'm trying to serve. So can you do me a little favor and just kind of tell the audience about who you are, kind of where you came from, your background and things like that? Just give us a little picture.
Okay, so I'm a sports chiropractor here in Minnesota, and I grew up always wanting to help people. Whatever that meant, I just wanted to help them, whether it be medical, PT, doctor of chiropractic. I didn't know where I was going to end up. So I got my bachelor's in chemistry, applied to a bunch of schools, and got into one here in Minnesota, Northwestern Health Sciences University, and started my path as a chiropractor. And all through school, they said, you need to do whatever it takes to help as many people as possible. You are your patient's advocate. You are there to help them. And I took that to heart. So when I opened my own practice here in Edina, Mobility, Agility, Chiropractic Performance, I was all about how do I get people back to movement? How do I get people back to activity? My slogan is, I want to get you better faster, keep you better longer, because no one has time to be sidelined. And it's so true. No one has time to be injured, sit at home, not work. And with the highest level of disability for not being at work, musculoskeletal conditions, so having pain in your body, I'm in an ideal position to help people, but I'm limited to what I can do here in my office, which is why I formed a podcast to help people access relatable health and wellness care that can be listened to all over the world. That's all I want, is to get people access to how to help themselves.
And so you're relatively new as a chiropractor, right? It hasn't been too long. How long have you been a chiropractor?
So I've been licensed for 5 years, and I did a 2 years. Yeah, so not 2 years. My clinic is only a year old.
New. That's what I saw a year. Okay.
Yeah,
right,
so my clinic's an absolute infant. I did a 2-year sports fellowship under a phenomenal doctor, Dr. Tim Stark, who has been a fundamental individual with getting us into the Olympics and treating in the polyclinics. So that was a fun thing. And that's where I got my love of sports.
Well, it's exciting because I know that we've talked a little bit, and my background is in kinesiology. I was a PE teacher, a coach, and so I really love sports, and that's really why I was a PE teacher. It was more to coach than to teach, but I loved teaching and teaching kids about movement and things like that. So it was great being a PE teacher. I spent a little more time teaching about fitness versus athletics, even though I felt that athletics had its place in high school. A lot of kids specialize in sports, so they don't necessarily need to learn how to play a sport, but they need to be able to be active and move. How has that athletic background, because it's actually kind of a niche, I would say, being a sports chiropractor versus being just a regular chiropractor? How is that? What's the shape of that? How does that look in your office?
So I work with some minor league teams. I'm the team chiropractor of Minnesota Roller Derby, and I'm the chief medical officer of a drum corps international marching band, River City Rhythms. And then I've also worked with a professional women's football team. So I've kind of dove straight into sports, and those are the people that have a tendency to come into my clinics. I'm in Minnesota. I'm in the state of hockey. I have a lot of recreational adult hockey players that beat themselves up at night, but still have to sit at their desk during the day. And I'm kind of there to keep them moving, keep them able to do what they need to do. So I attract a lot of active people to my clinic to get care. I do have some non-athletic people, but when they come in and they're non-athletic, I'm usually like, okay, what can we do to get you to movement? And that doesn't mean necessarily going to the gym. That doesn't necessarily mean joining a yoga class. It's finding what they're passionate for, what they want to do to keep active, because really we're given one body. We have one machine that we have to manage and keep healthy and keep safe. And without physically taking care of it by working out, it breaks down so fast.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that I noticed, myself. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. And one of the things that I really like, about having that active type of lifestyle is the fact that when I got done playing athletics, when I got done playing or doing, sports and doing all that outside stuff, I was not as active. And, your last podcast was about eating and diet and things like that. And it was tough for me because you go from being an active person for so long. I obviously, probably from the time I was 10, I was playing baseball, football, soccer, whatever there was. I was doing something every single time, eating a certain way because I was burning those calories. And then that quit. And so I stopped being active. And so the importance of that activity is, you can't go without it. So if your body's broken down, that's what I kind of appreciate about you, is you're talking about how you're going to make that better for them, so that they can be active. So you said that it's been about a year with your clinic. Can you talk about what the hardest part has been about that? Because part of the show is that it's about shaping your success and how you've created this. And I feel like when you started to go out and make your own business, that is probably part of your process. It sounds like you're really working hard to it. So what is the hardest part about the whole situation of going out on your own and everything? How have you dealt with those things?
Well, probably the hardest part is not having a business background. I came into this doe-eyed and precious thinking, I'll just hang my shingle. I've put myself out there with my teams. They'll come to me. I was a bit naive. I didn't know how to market. And in all honesty, that's been the greatest learning curve. Now, the hardest part in business, I think, is pretty obvious. I think it's been everybody's hardest part this year, the pandemic. When you're a first year business and a global pandemic hits, it's a struggle. And I would not say that I'm in a 100% successful place other than I successfully survived and I'm still here. And that in and of itself is a success. Am I having to do other things to kind of keep myself afloat? Yes. And I think that's part of being on the path of success, is not putting yourself above doing anything to keep your dream alive.
So has there been times where you've thought about, like, what if I fail? What am I going to do? What is your thought process? Because obviously you're fighting through it. And that's what I really like. That's what I really like about your story, is you're fighting through it. And so my question is, I'm sure in the back of your mind, sometimes you're like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing? What do you do to push yourself? And I think it's funny because I know exactly what you're thinking, but what do you do to fight through that? Because you're pushing, you're doing everything you possibly can. So what's that like? What's that thought process like?
Always having contingencies. So right now in my business, I actually have no debt. I have zero debt. I opened my practice and financed it myself, which is a hard thing to do and a high risk thing to do. But what it has allowed, that if something happens where, let's say, I lose the space that I'm renting, which I have a very low overhead practice, so it doesn't take a lot for me to keep it status quo, I can go mobile. So I have the ability to completely uproot my practice and move it into a mobile thing where I just drive to people's houses and treat them. I already do that on a small scale right now with some, if you're so injured you can't get out of bed, I go treat them there. If they're maybe during the pandemic, they were uncomfortable to come out in public, I've gone and treated them in their house that way. So I already have kind of staged plans that if I'm not able to sustain this space for some reason, I'll just go mobile.
That's great, because I would have never thought about that. I mean, that's got to be kind of tough. Do you have like a table and things that you take with you? Is it easy to do? You just need a flat surface. How do you do that? Because anytime I've been into a chiropractor office, my most recent one, who, like I was talking to you about a little bit earlier, I really like him. He's got this funky table where you walk in and you put your feet on it and it lays down automatic. I've never seen that before, but I mean, it seems like that would be kind of a tough thing to move things around.
So this is where being a sports chiropractor is the best, because my teams, when they're on the field and need care, I've got to be able to handle them wherever I am. So in my car, I actually have a portable collapsible table that I pack up. I have a Rubbermaid tub that I can put any of my rehab therapy and supplies. I then can have my weights. I can literally pack everything into my tiny Ford Focus, drive up, and have a comprehensive clinical experience and rehab. And I've done this for small businesses. So probably the first time I started going mobile was with a local barbershop that couldn't leave their shop to get care because they were so busy. And I'm like, no problem, I'll come to you. I want you to be cared for. I'll come to you. How do I solve your problem? If your problem is you can't come to me, fine, I'll come to you.
That's awesome. I say that's awesome way too much. I will tell you that. But I think that's a great way to get out there and get more business, because if they're not going to come into you, obviously you can go into their home. You can make sure with the COVID stuff, I'm a salesman during the day, and I have people like, will you put a mask on? Or we don't want a mask. Or, I mean, it's like, it's completely different. So you can basically get yourself sanitized before you go in there and then leave and sanitize again. So I like that. I think that's a great way to find a way to make it work. So let's dive in a little bit. Go ahead.
That's all business is, making it work, going through the struggle, fighting it out. And every time a door closes and says no, try to find the window. Try to find the hole in the wall. Do what you have to make it work. It's not always a straight, narrow, easy course. If it was easy, everybody would be a business owner.
100%. So I want to talk a little bit more about, your first episode that you had on your podcast was about finding an ethical chiropractor. And I know there's kind of this stigma, I feel like, with chiropractors. Some people kind of think that they're not, not a real doctor. They're not, because of the unethical portion of it, that they're like snake oil salesmen, I guess, is what I would look at, or I've heard, like, oh, they're quacks. They don't know what they're doing. I think that what I really took out of your episode, and I really feel for myself, is that is what it is. It's an unethical chiropractor. There's these people who are trying to sell products, and they're not trying to make you better, charging you for things that they shouldn't charge you for, trying to charge you a plan. It seems a little shady. So can you talk a little bit about that and what you do that's different than some other chiropractors do?
Now, first and foremost, I want to say what other chiros are doing are not necessarily illegal. What they are is not necessarily in the best interest of you as the patient. And that's where I think there's an ethical line that they're crossing. And that simply is maybe overcharging for care. So when you come into an office and they instantaneously, without taking a history, without doing an exam, jump into an x-ray, that's probably not medically necessary. And then use the x-ray to kind of communicate fear so that then they can offer you a 60, 80 visit care plan that if you pay up front, you get this discount. That's not okay. You shouldn't have that, because here's the thing. How are they going to know you're actually progressing? How do they know if you're actually going to get better? Most people want to be out of pain, want to be functional as fast as possible. They don't want to wait 60, 80 visits, because how long does that last? If you're doing 3 visits a week, who has time for that? So for me, a care plan at longest is 12 visits. And I have people pay as they go. I very rarely, unless they request, hey, I just want to pay for this up front. How much is this going to cost me? I'll create that and have a escrow account that I put the money in. So if something happens and they need to be reimbursed, I can reimburse them. Absolutely. But I want to make sure after like 3 visits, if you're not getting better, I'm overhauling your care plan. You have to be making progress. You should be 50% better the first time you walk out of my clinic. That is my standard. If you're not 50% better, you're not leaving. I have more tools in my toolbox to get you better. And it also kind of goes down to overemphasizing aspects of chiropractic that don't make sense. And one of those is the vertebral subluxation. I'm sorry, that is a made-up word by the founder of chiropractic, because back in the early 1900s when chiropractic came around, they honestly thought that the bone was shifted forward off the joint and it was partially dislocated, called a subluxation medically. Guess what? We have x-rays, we've done studies, that's not the case. So now if you go to a chiropractor and ask them for the definition of what a vertebral subluxation is, every single one of us is going to give you a different definition. That's not okay. And that's one of the reasons we aren't as well respected. What we're adjusting and what has been accepted is a somatic dysfunction. And that's a really big word for this isn't moving. So the muscles, the nerves are all getting irritated. There's inflammation, so you're having pain. So I adjust it. It now moves better. Everything relaxes. The pain goes away. That's such an easier explanation of what's going on. So when they overemphasize that vertebral subluxation, try to say it can do things like boost your immune system, cure ADHD, cure autism, like, oh my God. What are they saying? That is not represented anywhere in the literature and is frankly wrong.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy. It's funny. I suffer from allergies quite a bit, and I had the chiropractor like, hey, what can you do for allergies? And he's like, nothing. And that's kind of like where I knew. It's like, all right, man. That's cool, because you see these people who, like if you watch a chiropractic video on YouTube, sometimes you can see people, oh, we'll adjust your ear and we'll adjust your, it's just crazy that there's so many different things that they say that they can do. And
well, I will caveat, I have adjusted ears. You can do that. There are bones in there. It does feel good. It helps.
Yeah,
it helps.
You're right.
So,
right. Yeah. But you can't cure my allergies though, right?
No, I'm going to send you to an acupuncturist. An acupuncturist can do a much better job with needles and herbs to actually manage your allergies without having to go on over-the-counter medications. That's how I'm going to manage your allergies.
Nice. So can you tell me, and I know we talked a little bit about you're a sports chiropractor, but can you talk a little bit about the difference between a regular chiropractor that I would just go to if I had, well, I mean, obviously we can go to you for both, but what's the difference between a regular chiropractor and a sports chiropractor?
So a lot of it has to do with our training. Now, a lot of chiros can call themselves sports chiropractors, but they're honestly just doctors of chiropractic. I have taken the time to do a sports fellowship where I became nationally certified as a chiropractic sports practitioner and internationally certified as an internationally certified sports chiropractor. It's such a complicated term, but those two certifications really designate me and allow me to, one, work with U.S. Olympic athletes, go to Olympic events. The highest level event that I've personally gone to is the World Championship of Rowing. And I worked with Olympic rowers from every nation in the world while they worked on determining, one, who's the best in the world in Olympic qualifying. So being a provider at that is insane. But for me, a sports chiropractor is geared towards getting you out of pain fast, getting you back to activity, and utilizing rehab to do that. So a lot of people then question, well, what's the difference between a chiropractor and a physical therapist? Well, I look at it as a physical therapist is there to get you back from a surgery where you need to have that post-surgical rehab, and they get you back to your activities of daily living, being able to get dressed, being able to go to work, being able to function as a human. I then take you and get to mold you to get you back on the field. I get to take that general population person that your insurance is no longer going to cover the physical therapy to get you back to your extracurricular activity. That's where I come in and kind of finish things off and get you back.
Yeah, I love being able to put someone back into activity. And I think that's great. One of the, I've had quite a few knee surgeries and I have some issues and, with my knee, and I always look for that doctor, not the one who treats, and nothing against geriatric patients, but I want the athletic one because I want to get moving again. And that's a wonderful way to look at it. And if your patients know that you're trying to get them back to moving, back to athletics, back to whatever they do and whatever they love, I'm sure they are very happy with you when they leave.
I mean, my entire goal is to ask them what their goal is for care. I can try to predict and make up goals, but when I can go, hey, what is your goal? And they go, I want to play catch with my kids. That's all I want to do. Well, that's all I'm going to focus on. They're engaged with whatever I tell them they need to do, which means I can get their shoulder, I can get their low back, I can get them back to where they need to be so they can achieve playing catch with their kids. That's all that's important, is getting you back to where you want to be.
Yeah. Do you sit down? Do you have like a plan that you create with them? Like, hey, here's the goal. And you kind of talk about how the progression of what it's going to take to get there. How does that work?
So that kind of goes into the first patient visit. I spend an entire hour with a patient initially, going through a comprehensive history, a comprehensive exam, and then into treatment, starting usually with adjusting because I am a chiropractor, and then moving into rehab. I want you moving on the first visit. I don't want you to think laying on the table is all that it's about here. You've got to move. And then we talk about and we work through what their goals are. So if their goal is to be able to do overhead shoulder presses, I'm going to have them doing that activity here in the clinic, grab some weights, have them do the shoulder presses and treat them in the position of pain so that I can get them out of pain faster. Because if I'm just treating them here and they're like, well, it doesn't hurt here, I'm probably not hitting the area that's an issue. And we do discuss. So how long has the issue been there? So if you've had shoulder pain for 4 or 5 years, that's going to take a little bit longer to re-establish a good neuromuscular connection, so brain to muscle, how it's going to work, than if it's like an acute injury which then we're just dealing with tissue healing times and making sure the tissues heal in the way we want. So that's where the exam comes in. I'd like to say, okay, every time a patient comes in with this is their length of time. I can't do that. Everything is individualized to the person and what their goals and engagement are.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter way to do it, I'm sure. So, talking about chiropractic and your love for it and things like that, what advice would you give someone who wants to get into this profession? What would you say to you 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Do your research. Do your research and know that although this is a wonderful profession and I don't regret getting into it, there is a lot of infighting within it, and you have to know some of the politics, and it sucks. Also, picking the right school. There are 14 chiropractic universities in the United States. There are those that are more evidence-based, where they follow the science, they follow the current research. And then there are those that are more philosophically based, teaching and emphasizing the history of chiropractic. And depending upon which way you want to align, if you pick the wrong school, you're going to be miserable. And every school has their faults and issues. I'm always going to kind of stand by alumni, Northwestern Health Sciences University. I know it's a mouthful, but I'm going to stand by. They gave me a great education. They got me through my boards. That's one thing you might not know is every chiropractor has to pass 4 boards that are insane. So the first set is mainly biological sciences. Then we go into specific treatments, then case studies, and then we have a live practical. And you have to get through all 4 of them before you can license in your place and location. And each country has their own type of licensing board and licensing tests. So just do your research, shadow different doctors, find someone who's doing what you think you want to do. So if you want to get into sports, don't shadow a baby mama doctor. There are pediatric chiropractors that focus on maternal and infant health. And if you want to go into sports and you shadow someone like that, you're not going to get the vibe of what you're wanting to do in the future.
Find your path and do the research. I like it. Okay, so before we get to the last question here, I kind of want to ask, obviously you have a few places where we can find you. Can you tell us, where is the best places to find you? I know where to find you, but let's tell everyone where we're looking for you, where we can follow you.
All right, so I am at Facebook and YouTube at Mobility Agility Chiropractic Performance. I'm at Instagram at MacP_clinic, so MACP_clinic. And I have a podcast, Mac Performance Podcast, and that is found at majority of the podcast distributing sites. Mac Performance Podcast really is going to be a whiplash journey of getting on the road to healthy. Again, the first episode was ethical chiropractic. Second episode was emotional eating. And for those listening, the third episode coming out Monday is Amplify Black, Know Your Community, discussing how to be involved in the Black community and support them locally using the website Amplify Black.
Well, I'm excited to see how that goes. I'm glad that you mentioned your YouTube because I know that you have some great things on there. I listened to you on another podcast. You have some advice about how to stretch and things like that. So if you guys are looking for some information on that type of thing, you need to go check that out, and also check out Dr. Mac everywhere else. This is the last question. So, the show is called Shaping Success, and success for me is different for everyone. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, this live show, is to help others define their success, find what they love to do, find that thing that makes them happy, because success is different for every single person. So the last question is always, how do you shape your success? What does success look like to you?
Success for me is when I can drop everything and go out on a field with a team whenever I want. That is my success. And I got to experience that last year when end of June, my clinic was rather slow. I had River City Rhythms, the Drum Corps International Band, reach out and go, hey, we need a provider to take care of our athletes. Can you come do that? And I was able to drop everything and run out on the field and spend the rest of the summer outdoors playing with an incredible group of athletes, just watching them develop the music and skills. And I got to be the person that helped keep them on the field. That is my success, is being with my teams and watching them succeed because I kept them from being injured. It's not about the money. It's not about the work. Yes, of course, I have to pay my bills. Yes, I still have to pay my student loans. But being able to do those and be in those experiences is when I'm the happiest and I am having the most success in my life.
What a great example of what success is to you. I appreciate that. I want to say thank you for being on the show. I know that as soon as I listened to your podcast, we've been in this group for a little while together, that I wanted to have you on because it is just, it exemplifies what I'm trying to do here. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk about reaching your goals, your job, all those things, and how you reached your success.
Oh, thank you, Wes, for having me. I was honestly concerned about being on your podcast about success because right now my business is stressing me out because of the pandemic. But you know what? Being here has really kind of shown me, yeah, it might be stressful right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not successful. So I appreciate just being here and kind of having that epiphany.
Yeah. And a lot of things people don't realize that, even though it's a little scary right now, everything good comes with a little bit of that. So, keep fighting because I know that you will. You've made it this far. And I look forward to seeing the big things that you do in the future.
Oh, thank you, Wes.
No problem. All right. Well, everyone, that's the end of the show. I want to take the time to say thank you for listening. If you can do me a favor, can you please share this wherever you are? If you're doing a watch party right now, I really appreciate that. This is on Apple Podcast on Tuesday. Everything that you hear here, I want to say, if you can, please go and share it. If it brought you value, if you think it'll bring someone else value, give it a 5-star rating and a review. I appreciate you for tuning in. I want to say thank you to my sponsors, Aggressive Marketing Solutions, as well as my producer at TVPBN. Thank you very much. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.
This was Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502. 541-709-6502. That is Aggressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.